Let's start at childhood, right? So in childhood, there may be programming in a certain way that you are being praised by your mom, your dad, your caregivers, or what, as a child for looking cute. So they're like, "Oh, you're so cute. You look so cute. You look so tiny. You're such a tiny little girl," right? But then when you get bigger, when you get chubbier, it's like you start getting teased for that. They start saying things like, "Oh, you're a big girl. Oh, you're so chubby, your fat, chubby cheeks, ha ha ha," make a joke out of it and things like that. And although, like, a lot of adults don't realize or they don't think that that's a bad thing, these are the things that are programmed into you to make you think that it's not okay. Oh, being chubby and being bigger and having fat, chubby cheeks is not okay. And then the conditioning is that my body is only lovable if it fits certain standards. If it's cute, if it's tiny, then people love me. You know, the auntie that always wants to pick you up and cuddle you because you're so cute and you're so tiny. But then when you're chubbier and you're fat, it's like, no, 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 don't come around here. Right. And programming also comes from media as well, which we will get a lot into. But I just want to talk about the fact that you learn a lot from in your childhood from cartoons, from kids' shows that you watch where the villains are the bigger people, right? The villains are the fat people, and then the heroes are the thin and attractive people, right? So then that programs you or that conditions you to think that thinness, being smaller is good and fatness is bad. So being fat is bad, right? So there's things in childhood, and I noticed that a lot in childhood. So at age 6 was when I had my first thing with body image where I was like, wait, my body's like so much bigger than all the other kids. So there's comparison as well to other kids. But people used to say, like, oh, you're chubby, you're such a big girl, you're so chubby. You know, there were comments like that. The way that teachers and people, you know, would look at me would be, you know, oh, I'm not like the other kids, right? So family and upbringing can come into it a lot. Parents might be commenting, oh, you're getting a little heavy, or maybe they're trying to help you with weight loss. You know, some women that I've worked with, you know, at a young age, they were starved or they would have certain foods taken off their plate to help them. No, you can't have that because that's bad. No, if their mum was on a diet, it was like she would give you the dieting foods as well because she didn't want you to get fat. And like that sounds terrible, but she thought that was the best thing for you at the time because she was fat and she didn't want her kids to be fat. That was like her showing love, right? It was what she was programmed to believe and conditioned you to believe as well, right? So the conditioning then becomes my body is something to be controlled and I can't trust my body. You know, that's the thoughts that you have. I need to control myself. I need to control my eating. I need to, you know, all the things. There's also parents might have compared you to your siblings. So you might hear things, or not even like your parents, you know, family around you, your aunties and uncles, your sister's the pretty one, your sister's the skinny one, as if it was like a good thing. Oh, you're the fat one, you know, comparing siblings, which is freaking terrible. Like, I want to, when I say these things, I want you to know, like, it's not nice. It's freaking terrible. And if you feel that, if you like feel it in your bones, like, oh, I'm triggered. Oh, that brings up a memory when I was a kid. Like, write it down. I want you to take note of the things that really trigger you. And I also don't want you to like dive into it, be like, yes, this, like, there's so many things. It's like the one that really fucks with you, where it maybe evokes emotion, it evokes a feeling inside of you, like, oh, I remember that time when my auntie did say, like, oh, you're the ugly sister, or because you're fat, or whatever it is, right? You're the less attractive one because you're fat, because you're the bigger sister. And I think I shared this on the last lesson as well. Growing up, I was the bigger sister. My older sister, she was smaller than me, but she was older than me, and I was the bigger sister and I was younger. And that already like in our heads or in society's head, like if you're older, you should be bigger than someone. A person younger than you can't be bigger than you. That's not good, right? So growing up, I was always like, oh, I'm the oldest, I'm the younger sister, and I'm so big and I'm so much bigger than her. But people would compare, oh, the big one. I was always the big one. When we would go shopping, I remember a moment when my mum took us to Glassons to get some jeans. And I was looking through the racks and I was like, oh, I love these jeans. I love these ones, but they didn't have my size. Mind you, I was like an intermediate. So I wasn't even that big. Maybe I was like a size 10, 12. And the jeans I really wanted, I couldn't get them because they didn't have my size. And I had to go to these other jeans that weren't as nice. And they were like long, wide, thick-legged jeans. And I'm like, oh, nobody wants to wear this. But it was like the best that I could get because of my size. But my sister got to wear the jeans that I loved, or I loved her jeans because she was a smaller size. So even that's like the programming, right? The conditioning I keep seeing over time. And fashion and things like that that we're not even catered to. So the sibling comparisons is your sister's the pretty one, all these things, and you have that conditioning that, I'm not good enough because I am bigger, or I'll never measure up. So why should I even try? Like those kinds of vibes. Generational body image as well. So observing, you would have seen, or you may have seen your older relatives constantly dieting, your auntie constantly dieting, your mum constantly dieting, or talking about needing to lose the baby weight or the baby fat after, they've had kids, or getting back to their pre-baby body, or shaming their own body, looking in the mirror and hating what they see, being on all the diets, being on, always commenting on their weight. Oh, I don't want to take photos. I look like a fat whale and all the things. And you would have watched them sit out of life. And it's like that's programmed you to believe that, or that's conditioned you to believe that a woman's worth is tied to how much they weigh, right? I'll always have to worry about my size because that's what my mom did. That's what my auntie did. Like I have to worry about it. So these are the things that are being conditioned to you, right? And then there's programming as well, like, nobody will marry me if I gain weight. My body determines whether I am lovable or successful. Nobody's going to desire me if I have, weight, if I gain weight, things like that. So if something's hitting for you, please drop it in the comments. If there's something that you want to talk kind of more about, please let me know. If you're in Destination Self-Love, you can also come into the calls and we can do coaching on it in a couple of weeks. If you're not in Destination Self-Love, you can come and be a part of Destination Self-Love and we can unpack this more. So I'm going to go over like different, and there's so many ways that programming, that conditioning show up. So there is going to be a long list of things that I'm going to kind of talk about. And I really want you to tune in and see ways where that may be coming out in your life right now. That may be dripping and leaking all through your life. And like, no wonder, I feel like I'm not good enough. No wonder I have this insecurity that my arms are too jiggly and fat. It's because my mom said that when I was a kid, that my arms were so fat, or my arms were disproportionate to the rest of my body and things like that. So really tune in. Like I want you to tap in, like really get there and be so present in the things that I am saying. Another thing is your parents, and with your parents and your caregivers, is that they may have used weight loss as a sign of success, right? Either a sign of success, a discipline in the home, things they might have said things like, don't eat that, you'll get fat. No, you can't have that, that's naughty, that's bad. And then you have the thoughts, my body is something to be controlled. I'm only good if I fit into these limitations. They may have even rewarded you for weight loss or for dieting, or they reinforce that, body control. Or actually, I should say, like those words, when they're like, good job, you've lost all the weight, or oh, you look so good now, you've lost the weight. Yeah, I was worried about you for a bit, or whatever it is, and you've starved yourself and you've done all these things. But then they're praising you and you're getting more attention from them and stuff like that. It conditions you to believe that I can only be loved, or I can only be recognized when my body fits an ideal standard, when I am this size, when I diet and I struggle and I punish myself in the gym and things like that. Cultural norms. So there would be your cultural beauty norms as well. For example, you have to be slim for marriage or be strong for certain gender roles and things like that. And a lot of time beauty ideals, like they differ across different cultures, but they emphasize unattainable standards. Like you have to be light skinned. You can't be too dark. Don't be too dark out in the sun, right? You have to be light skinned. You have to have a slim waist. You have to have, for men, it's like a muscular build, right? So these different things that come into your cultural norms. And then also a lot of fat phobia and body shame is deeply ingrained in cultural attitudes, cultural language, cultural beliefs, and things like that. So, for example, I know in the actually any culture, I'm not even going to point out a culture because it probably does, and I have noticed over time that things I say like, oh, this is in the Polynesian culture, people from different cultures are like, oh no, that's the same for us, that's the same here, that's the same there, right? But when your parents talk about you, you go into spaces, maybe you're at church or you're at a family function or something like that and it's like, oh, these are my kids. And then they kind of like say, like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. This is blah. Oh, she's the big one. She's you have these things. Um, but then you make it believe that your body must look a certain way to honor your culture or your family, right? If you don't meet expectations, you bring shame on your family or embarrassment on your family. How many times, if you've had like a family function and things like that, you're like, oh, I need to lose weight so that, my family, so that me and my family can show up looking our best. We don't want to be the ones that are all fat and overweight and look like we've let ourselves go and all the things. It's like this cultural thing. A lot of times this comes with, so I always kind of, what's the word? Equate it to, when you like go to your family functions and it's like, oh, you got to give the biggest donation, you've got to give the biggest gift, you've got to wear your best dress, you've got to look appropriate, don't talk bad about the family, we've got to have good, family, we got to look good as a family, we've got to do all the cultural things and things like that. It's the same with like, your body image. It's like you've got to show up looking like a good family, looking like a desirable family, looking like the family, the beautiful, attractive family that has everything going on for them and all the things, right? So that shows up as well. Um, and sometimes in cultures they do idolize curvier figures. There's pressure to fill out or not go too far. Like there's so many things that we could probably even go through here. That there's like so many things that we could cover here. But then it does give you the conditioning that I can only be confident if I do this, or I have to lose weight to show up. Like sorry, the conditioning would be in order when like I'm my best when I've lost the most weight. I'm the most attractive, the most best, the most whatever, the most desirable, whatever, enter enough, all the things. My parents love me the most when I look like, when I'm smaller, when I'm all the things, right? So I think it also comes into like it conditions you to think that my body is on display for others to judge, right? It's okay for other people to judge me, right? Because that's what everyone's been done around you, right? So you're conditioned to think that that's okay. I also want to talk about weddings and special events and things like that. There's the focus on appearance. I don't know if like your family might have done a Biggest Loser before, or like a weight loss challenge before and things like that before somebody's wedding or before someone's birthday or before someone like a celebration and things like that. So then that makes you think that the same, that my body's on display for other people to judge. To be my best I have to lose weight to be desirable. In school programming is comes through the teasing that you probably, I feel like everyone's been teased at school. Maybe you've been called fat, or you've been left out of activities like sports due to your body size. And people pick their teams. It's like, oh, you're the last one picked because you're the bigger girl compared to everyone else. That conditions you to believe that I don't belong here because my body isn't good enough. My body doesn't look like everyone else's, right? Or you might hear that your peers, your people around you, your friends, they glorify, the thin classmates, the body goals classmates. And it's like you have this conditioning that I need to be thin to be accepted, to be admired. Maybe the popular girl is the skinnier girl or the girl that all the boys like, which back in school, that's what you wanted. You wanted the boys to like you, right? And it was like always the thinner girl. They're not gonna like a curvy girl like me. So that makes you think like, I need to be thin to find a boyfriend. I need to be thin to be loved. I need to be, fit or athletic to be loved, right? My worth is linked to my body and my appearance. And if I'm not physically praised or recognized, then I'm not good enough, right? And talking about workplace as well. Once you get into the workplace, there's, the corporate environments or industries that emphasize appearance as well. Something I really struggled when I became a flight attendant was that I was a bigger girl. I was a bigger flight attendant. I remember someone saying to me when I had met them, and I was like, yeah, I used to be a flight attendant. And it's like, oh, you can be fat and be a flight attendant? And it's just like shit like that, right? There's the flight attendant has this thing that you have to be skinny, you have to be picture perfect, you have to be tall, you have to, look appropriate and have this certain appearance, and they don't look like me and things like that. And it's like, that's the programming. You have to be slim. Actually, that's one thing I really struggled with as well. Like I have to be slim to be professional. We want to be professional at work, and it's like I have to be slim. If I was going for interviews, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to lose weight for this interview because that will make me look professional. And they might not hire me because I'm fat, because I am bigger.